Hey guys, welcome to the Troy Gramling podcast. I am so glad that you decided to join us today. As you know, we've been talking to some of the folks who have helped make potential what potential is today over these last 45 years. And today, man, no exception, I have with me a very special guest, Pastor Mark Gillming. Now, before I introduce him, I got to let you know, Pastor Mark was the first one when Steph and I got here to invite us to his home. And on numerous occasions, I'd get a little text or an email from him. Then he would say, "We're glad you're here." And so a very, very special and encouraging gentleman. Pastor Mark, it is good to have you today.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. In fact, I just found some pictures that we had on the Paragould trip.
Oh,
When Renee and I, you, Stephanie, went back and got to see your church. And that was a fun weekend. Went to the auction that your dad was doing. Remember that? That was awesome.
Oh,
I'd
yes.
never been to an auction before. So that was pretty.
Uh-oh. And funny because he would buy that stuff from here, from Sunrise, and ship it down there. So, anyways.
Yeah.
Good times. Now, when I came, Pastor Mark was here. He was part of the worship team. You and Pastor Allen, and you kind of had a well. The way it seemed like is you helped him on the weekend, and you did Wednesday night.
That's right. Yeah. Kind of did a dual thing. I was bivocational at the time, and so I did Wednesday nights. We didn't always do Wednesday nights either. We did them for a stretch, brought them back, and canceled them, and brought them back. So mostly weekends, and I sang and supported really Alan and the team.
Yeah. Well, when I got here, you, Pastor Allen, Pastor Hal, Pastor Dan, and Pastor Garland.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
y'all were the
Now, how long, when you got here, where were they in their transition from being, more traditional to more modern?
Yeah, I think they had been through it for at least 3 or 4 years. And I remember one of the things that was amazing to me is how fast they were growing. It was unprecedented. I came and I want to say they were running maybe 900, and we grew 100 people at least a month for like 2 years.
wow.
It was just like the right place at the right time kind of deal.
And the right people.
And the right people. Yeah. Dan was a special leader. And, then when he knew it was time to go, of course, he brought your name up in front of everybody, and you got down here and did a great job moving into the role. So it was fun. It was fun.
So now, how long? When did you what year did you leave?
Do you remember?
In 2005, and I was there 8 years.
All right.
So 2005, moved up to North Carolina to start a church called Next Level, and we were there about 10 years. Grew really well, and then transitioned out here to City Church. Was called Bethlehem. So I've been through a couple name. I think changed after I left.
Yeah, 2010 is when we changed the name.
I remember we worked on the kind of the vision statement together with that. Man, I can't remember now. What is it? I don't want to put you on the spot either.
Oh, well, you talking about as far as
Potential goes?
Yeah.
Partnering with people to reach their
God potential in order to impact the world for good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, folks who may not know you are an incredibly creative person. And I think of all the people I've ever known, one of the most curious, honestly curious people. Some people are curious simply maybe for selfish reasons. Do you think you just naturally that way? Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think around the right people, creativity for me is fairly easy. I think it comes part of it with the understanding that it's a safe place to create, and we are going to, there's no good or bad idea, so we're just going to throw some things out. I think that was a very creative team we had there. You could create, and also I think one thing that I learned at Potential was feedback. It really is the breakfast of champions. You have to love the organization so much that you're willing to sit down and have, positive feedback as much as you can, obviously with relationship. But I love that, where we would debrief, say, hey, this worked, this didn't, and just try and, what's the worst thing that can happen? It just doesn't work. I mean, ruin things.
Yeah, you always ask the question, well, what if? That's what I remember. Well, what if, or have we thought about? You know what I'm saying? And it's amazing where a discussion can go from that, that simple question.
Yeah, I think it takes the idea of your teaching, and maybe you just try to keep thinking about how can we end this to make an impact. And maybe it's giving out M&Ms to show diversity. Maybe it's writing on a prayer card and bringing it forward. Maybe it's, you just don't know until you're given the reins to be creative. And yeah, I still love that. It's a little different in this role than being on the creative team, because my role has a little bit more yes no attached to it.
Right, because you're the executive. You're the
Yeah,
for the nobody's gonna. But you're the Hal Mayer of City Church now.
yeah. I wish I was the Hal Mayer. He was the guru of this job. I am. I get up every day, just say, Lord help me. I have no idea what I'm doing, and He does. So I mean, I love people, and I've been at every job in a church, so I what it's like to feel all things that staff feel. And sometimes, part of God's work in your life to feel things that aren't comfortable.
So
So,
how have you? Do you have a difficult time then, especially being so effective in the creative arts? Now do you have a hard time knowing when to step in and share your thoughts and when to let them wrestle with it? Or
yeah, I think that's, I wrote down, in fact, one of the questions is, it's always for me been a delicate balance between when you step in and when you don't step in, because your voice is going to be at your church is going to be bigger than mine or the executive pastor, but the executive pastor still can be a big voice.
right.
And you don't want to be, you're not the final, you just want to keep creating things. But yeah, it is a very delicate balance, and I wish I, you know did better at listening on the front end and less talking. That's probably one of my big learns.
Well, what if, I imagine, coming from the executive pastor sounds completely different than what if as a part of the creative team?
It does. That's the biggest thing. What if coming from me is more like, okay, I guess that means we're doing it. And that's been a harder role, I think, to get. And sometimes you mean it, like, yeah, what if we don't ever do that again?
Like the haze at the
Yes. Yes.
That's an inside joke for everybody listening, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I've lived that never do it again thing.
No, no, exactly.
So, what do you look back on at your time here at Flamingo/Potential? Are some of the projects you really enjoyed being a part of?
Well, when I think back, my memory is now like you used to say, and I kind of took this away. When I left, you said, make this moment sticky. I like that. It's hard to make every moment sticky because there's just a lot of routine in life that
Mm.
is not full. So the things I remember well, I really enjoyed the 5K we did back through the ranches. I thought that was a really neat thing. We had, again, my memory, I want to say two or 300 runners.
Hmm. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
You know,
We
hey,
did.
just a second before you go on. I was talking with you, SB Mize. You remember SB?
Yo, SB, sure.
Yeah. Well, she brought that up.
And she brought up that she beat me in that. Like I had kind of forgotten the whole thing, and she says, "Yo, you mean the race where I beat you?"
Yeah, I remember that. There was a little smack going around the office that she was quite a little athlete.
I had to send you a video. I mean, she told me her age. It was 65, and I've got she sent me a video of her rope climbing.
Just,
Whoa.
just grabbing the rope and going like this right up to the top of the rope. Incredible.
Yeah, I liked, as silly as it was, I liked Petapalooza.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I mean, people and their pets, they love it. I liked I like kind of being the project manager or overseer a little bit on the new building that we built.
Hmm.
I mean, things that the catwalk. I call it
Hmm.
the color catwalk because it not only a million, but we had to redo air conditioning ducts but it was, I think, at the end of the day, it's been important to focus lights, and so
Well, we
those are
had to do it. You remember once we put in the theater seats is when
that's when we had to do it. Yeah, everything. Yeah, it just. But it's a beautiful building, and
we just
it looks.
replaced all the seats. By the way,
Wow.
Just put in brand new.
$500,000 worth of seats, but we actually ended up with more. You know, we got rid of the Pastor Allen size walkways. He always liked those wide, so we've got, I don't know, I think it's 300 or so more seats in there.
Oh, because we had varying size seats. Remember, they
Yeah.
went.
Uh-huh.
It's just the way the seating company, small,
Yeah.
medium, large.
Hmm. Yeah.
So how
We
would you
did.
ever know about in
Yeah.
medium, large?
Yeah.
So you and stage out too, didn't you, into the
Yep.
congregation?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, we got to I wish we could do it. If it wasn't for props and stuff, I'd love to do it like in the round. That'd be my ideal
That
way
was
of
awesome.
speaking.
Yeah, there's a church up here that meets in a gym at Davidson College, and they do everything in the round.
Mm.
And but it's kind of a college campus, which I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But I
So
think
now,
those. Go ahead.
how long you been there now?
Been here over 10 years.
Wow.
Just a little over July 1st, and was at the next level for about 9 years too, and transitioned from there out here. Our pastor's name is Dickie Spargo.
Mm.
That's an interesting name. He's a great guy. Very, he's a work he's a work with guy, kind of like you are. Just let's put our shoulder to it and see what we can do together. And I think that makes ministry doable. If
Yeah.
you can work with people, not just a work for relationship, but
Yeah, get awfully lonely if you're trying to do it by yourself.
it does. Yeah, and it can.
So I know, when you were here, your girls and your son were all pretty young. They kind of
Yes.
grew up here. So tell us a little bit of how they're doing and what's happening there.
Well, Renee and I've been married, just married, celebrated our 40th, May 20th. So we're very
Congratulations.
thankful on that. Thank you very much. Yeah, when we left there, Harrison was a freshman at Liberty. Our girls were still in high school. So they're doing good. Harrison's graduated from Liberty, works at a church up here as a worship pastor, does a phenomenal job. 4 kids. All of our kids were married within a 12-month period. It's amazing the way Megan married her long time boyfriend from potential Matt Allen. They live up here. They have 1 daughter, and then our daughter Brittany married a glassblower, and he's the head lead glassblower at Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I've probably seen his work.
you have. If you ever head that way, buzz me and I'll
Yeah.
fast pass. Anyway, Sean is a fantastic glassblower. He makes a snowman that's about 2 feet tall. It's just, I mean, because you got to do it all, with hot glass. You can't
Right.
go after the fact and add anything. So all these different colors. Yeah. And I love Branson. Now my wife would never live there because there's nothing to do in Branson, I guess. But did you ever go?
Oh yeah, because Stephanie's parents lived there for a while.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
we actually,
Last Christmas we went to Silver Dollar City.
well, we were there last Christmas.
yeah, we went.
Well, it was over Thanksgiving. We went back to Paragould over Thanksgiving, and it actually, I have a strong memory of it because it was an unpleasant day because we had to drive, which is about 5 hours to get back to Paragould, and we got to Silver Dollar City, and the line to get in was, I mean, I'm glad he's a good glass blower because they don't have parking attendants.
No.
It was just terrible. So Steph's like, well, we don't have time. Let's just go back. And I got a little frustrated over that. So we did stay, but nobody had any fun.
Yeah, I know that. Well, before you go. Well,
I had
take
to repent after that that trip.
I know. Well, it's sometimes there at the holidays, it's absolutely worse than Disney. And Disney, I hear, is always
Oh,
slammed.
It's beautiful though. The number of lights they had.
Oh, it's a fun. I grew up going there because I grew up in Springfield,
right.
Missouri.
Did you go to the Bass Pro? Not the shop, but the resort.
Yes, yeah. It called.
I don't know, I forget what it's called, but they got all the light. We stayed there actually in one of those cabins. We had a fireplace.
Yeah, it's called Big Cedar.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, I love Big Cedar.
Yeah,
That's
all
fun.
you guys listening, if you've never been to, it's like a Gatlinburg. If you've ever been to a Gatlinburg kind of place, a little smaller than that. And then you got Springfield, which is an hour away, and that's that's not a bad place to go either.
It still has every restaurant created by man in Springfield, Missouri, and I don't know why. It's just, I don't get it. I mean, it is just it. Maybe it's where restaurants go to hatch or something. But man, it is. I've never seen a city with more that's that size that has more restaurants, and so yeah.
Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time there, but we flew in there a couple times when we go into Branson, and then they got the original Bass Pro there,
and
Yeah.
then
And an aquarium.
yeah,
Have you now? Memphis now has the pyramid has been turned into, again, if you're looking for a cool place to go, Memphis has turned the pyramid into a Bass Pro Shop with a big hotel with like a, I don't know, 4 or 5 star hotel in it. It's a very cool place. It's very much like Big Cedar, got that outside feel, and
Yeah, that'd be.
and you get to see Elvis's house as well.
Come on, I say he's still alive somewhere.
Yeah. We went. We were there actually a couple. I'd never been the whole time I lived there, but we took Tyler, my oldest son's wife's mother, is a big Elvis fan, so we all went to Graceland.
Memphis is it's a unique city right now, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
and yeah, it's we flew in there last year to drive down. Jared Kirk, who is out of Potential. His dad passed away.
Oh, okay.
and the funeral was down in Yazoo City, Mississippi. So
Yazoo City.
yeah, so we actually flew through Memphis, and it's not the Memphis I remembered, but it's
Right.
all
No.
these things are older and more challenging. So
Yes.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt there's been some huge challenges there. So tell me, what if you were, because I think one of the things that I learned from you and the other guys that were here when I came was parenting. So what are some of the things that you look back now and you think that you and Renee did right when it comes to parenting?
yeah, well, Renee and I are actually doing we do a 4-week parenting class here.
Oh, okay.
Something kind of um, I would say a clear vision for raising your kids. What are the I don't know. You got to lay down some principles. Like, we're going to go to church. I mean, I think you got to start there. You got to tell your kids, it's great you play sports, and I love you playing sports, but we're going to church. I mean, you
Mm,
got to lay down the value that what you believe is important. I think
mm,
practicing in their home, Christianity. There are a lot of families that use a lot of inappropriate language around their kids, and they wonder why their kids don't get it when they
mm,
grow. I think dating, setting a, helping your kids come up with a list of who they expect and what they look for in a mate, and then holding them to that. Because one thing we've seen, I'm sure you do too, is these young believers, they get panicky, and then they
mm.
marry that's not a believer, and then they're spending the biggest part of their days just negotiating life inside this home. And so I would say mostly, Troy, it's really just living out your faith and
Mm,
make church. It's just amazing me how many few people have their kids in student ministry, have their kids involved at church, and then they wonder why their kids don't want anything to do with church.
right.
Yeah, it's just it's to hear you say that, because that's the same thing. The thing that breaks my heart the most, and if you're out there as a Christ follower and you've got children, I think is that there's this false assumption that where you are and what your children are, even though
Mm.
maybe you grew up in church and they've only gone once every other month, you know what I mean, and they haven't been involved at all. I think if parents sat down at the dinner table, Christian parents, and and got their kids to talking, they'd be amazed at some of their views. You know what I
They
mean? And it's heartbreaking because you see it happening, and you know what I mean? They're distracted. They're on vacation. They're doing all these things, which aren't bad things, but their kids are drifting and doing life in a world that has a worldview that is just the opposite of being a Christ follower.
Yeah, and I think the unlimited. I was teaching here a few Sundays ago, and I was talking about something that happened down at when I was at Potential, and I was saying, the thing is, there were no phones. It was a different. Getting away with God was not as when people wanted to get in touch with you. You had a day or two. I mean, really, I mean, the computers was not that far into it, but I think kids today, this obsession over their phones, I don't know where it's going, but
Mm,
it's not a good place,
mm,
because too many kids that are just left with their phone and TikTok. And I'm just telling you, as hard as I tried to find inappropriate stuff when I was a teenager, uh, and nowadays, I mean, you don't have to even work that
mm,
hard.
right.
So it's a damning device for
Mm,
sure. It takes a lot of fortitude as parents to work through that single. The other thing is, our kids never had protected electronic equipment. We
mm,
always knew their passwords.
right.
We were part of their social media, and they weren't allowed to ever go dark or to
Mm,
do a, what do they call it, a fakestagram page, where
mm,
we had somebody here, Troy, whose mom was a pretty diligent, but her daughter would, and she didn't have Instagram or maybe TikTok. And at night she would download it on her phone and be on it and then delete it in the morning.
Oh, wow.
That's just hard.
Yeah.
What does a parent do? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a tough world, and then inappropriate pictures and all that. It's just out of control.
Yeah, it's no doubt it's been a challenging season, and COVID didn't help any of that. How did you deal with that up there? Were y'all out of service for a while, or did y'all get back pretty quick? Or
Yeah, we were, it started in March. We were back the middle of May. We started having services, and of course, people didn't come back, right? I mean, they still. I think Carrie Newhoff says that the biggest group that didn't come back was my age and your age. The boomers said, "See ya." I don't know what that's all about, but we experienced a lot of, the boomers just they got out of the habit and they stopped.
Mm-hmm.
How have you guys done?
We were about the same way. We came, the scariest thing for me is that first weekend when we were only supposed to have 10 people here and the police came to check on us. That was, for the first time in my life, that sense. I've never feared the government. I've never thought they're out to get me. And, COVID changed that. And we've got a great governor. We had a good mayor. They're both were of different parties, but, so we were able to get back pretty quick. We got back. We opened our campus in Pensacola on, I guess it was Mother's Day, so it had been in May. And then I think the first week in June, we opened up at Cooper City and Hollandale. So I think, we got back to pretty quick as far as, like you said. I mean, we still have folks come every weekend. It's like, it's my first weekend back since COVID. It's been 3 years.
Let me ask you this. If they said shut down again, is that something you talked about with your leaders? I mean, is that something we do again, or are we done playing that game?
I think it would be very hard if to shut down out of what we know. In other words, like if it was a different virus or a different something, but if just all of a sudden this winter they started to say, hey, it's spreading, I think you'd have to have a lot more. We trusted them, the first time. And I think this time we would have to we'd need a lot, or I would want a lot more, now who's going to come and not, I don't know. But my responsibility would be, I feel like, whether the church stays open or not would be on the leadership here. Whether they come, that's between. This is what I said, Mark, this is what I saw with COVID that I'd never seen before. The enemy divided us, the church, on things we agree about. We all agree COVID is bad, and yet we fought about. It all became political. Whether you wear a mask, you don't wear a mask, whether you're having church, whether you're 6 feet away, whether you're singing, it all became, same thing with race. Racism's bad. We can all agree on that. But we began to argue about anti-racism, within the churches. It's really sad.
Yeah, and I wonder, too, since COVID, there's been a lot of fracturing in the church over these other issues on gender and all this. And again, it's really, really fractured the church nationwide. And I think, it's just a really, really weird time to live in America, because I felt like it started with COVID, and then it's this fracture inside the church. It feels like it's just getting worse and larger.
I meet with a group of pastors from around the world, and some of the largest ones once a year, Steph and I go and meet. And they said that around the world, after COVID, it was like, I don't know exactly what it is now, but it was between 40 and 60% like return rate, which is about what we've seen here. And so 40 to 60%. Think about how much light was lost in the world not just in one community or even in one country, but those are churches around the world. I mean, that's going to have, when we see more violence and anger, you could attribute it to the fact that it's darker.
Yep, yep, exactly. I think of the people that get so mad so quick, and I wonder if it's the anger over no hope, the anger of living in a world that they feel like is out of control. And so you get rubbed, and man, the reaction is not in comparison to what you are getting pushed over.
No,
So
yeah, exactly. You see, it's
an incredible time, but like you said a while ago, some of my most enjoyable times and creative times include you and your family, and I just say thank you for that. And we've been already talking for 30 minutes, so it's about time to wrap up. But I do want to let you know, if you're in town, what's the
28th, 29th.
yes, thank you.
I just got this beautiful
Oh, good.
memento it's really well done. Looks beautiful. I like foil and boss things. That's kind of an 80s thing,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
love it's coming back. I think
I was gonna say it's all circular. My kids are telling me stuff that's cool that it's like, oh no, it's not cool anymore. Oh yes, it's cool again.
I know. I was in a meeting yesterday. We were talking about something with the website. And I said, I love that. And they go, oh, that's so 80s. And I went, I'm done suggesting anything. Just made me mad. No. Yeah, if we can, we'd love to come down. That would be a fun deal.
Well, we want to acknowledge you if you do. Like I said, potential wouldn't be what it is without you. And you've played a huge role in, especially not only in the time in which you were here, but in the time that Steph and I have been here, because you had a huge impact on our lives from the day one. You're the first guy I called. You're the guy that invited me to your house. You're the guy that would say, hey, we're glad you're here. We need you, when I didn't know what I was doing. So, and then your creativity, freed me up a lot. So I am incredibly appreciative for the impact that you've had and the long-term result. What my kids are, in a lot of ways, you've helped to feed into that. So thank you.
Thank you. I also saw this in you, which was really exciting. You came, you didn't know anybody. We would have those conversations, and I would kind of be talking you down. Like vintage, was the service called Vintage or
Vintage?
Yeah, and it was a Friday night, I think.
I don't even remember. It may have been.
It was a Friday or Sunday night, maybe Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday night. It was Sunday night.
There was some frustration about getting traction and this, and I remember I was giving you probably the advice that would have probably made you codependent on the team that you were with rather than being a leader. And maybe some of it was a little bit about, hey, just chill for a little bit, you'll get there. But really, you stepped into the shoes very quickly. And, I think the one thing I learned from you, that leaders have followers. If you're a leader, if you say you're a leader and you look around and nobody's following you, you're just on a walk. But you always had a strong group of followers that were also leaders. So you really emerged into a really terrific leader and a pastor. And I enjoy what you do there and watch you on Sundays. And thank you for your friendship.
Yes, sir. We do mean it. Very lots of great times. And you know what? Yeah. That was a time that can't ever be relived. I mean, the lunches we were able to go on, and the whole team. You know what I mean? The size it was, the freedom. Yeah. It was just a special time. And I encourage everybody out there listening. I don't know where you're at and what part of life you're in, but enjoy where you're at with its challenges and with its struggles, because there's a part of it you'll never be able to live again. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in today. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation, a little bit of our journey back into our time together. And we'll see you next week as we continue to talk about life, talk leadership, really just talk about how to succeed at what God's called us to do. God bless. We'll see you next Thursday.